Yo, 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 what's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. The purpose of this show is to have people on that are thriving in life. And as we dive into their stories and topics of expertise, we hope that you too can thrive in your life. And I'm joined by a mighty fine crew today, 3 people, and I'm going to go ahead and give some introductions. So starting to my right, we have Monica Malesic. Round of applause.
What's up, everyone?
How are you doing today, Monica?
I'm doing just splendid.
Splendid. I love that. And to her right, who is not actually a stranger to Thrive and Dive, she's on here before, we've got Hannah Harwick. Let's go. Oh yeah, keep it coming. Oh, they gave more applause to Hannah than Monica. Hannah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. And last, but certainly not least, we have the Jordan Smith. How are you doing today, Jordan?
Doing pretty fantastic. Thank you.
Let's go. And I'm your host, James Flaming, and I'm doing great as well. Super great because these 3 have agreed to come on Thrive and Dive. So I'm super thrilled about it. So before we jump into our topic of conversation today, we're going to do some brief introductions like we do with every new guest on Thrive and Dive. So Hannah, if you're a faithful fan to Thrive and Dive, has been on before, but we'll go ahead and even allow her to do a brief introduction because this could be your first time watching today. So we'll start with Monica, and then we'll do Hannah, then Jordan. So Monica, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for work, maybe a fun hobby. And since we have the Jordan Smith in the room, I think a good question, because I want to hear his answer to this question, is what is one of your favorite movies? I ask that because Jordan, as you're going to learn maybe in a second, is, in my opinion, a movie guru, and he analyzes movies like no other. And I'm just sitting there. We just enjoy the movie and not critique the movie, right? And so I want to know what's like a top movie for Jordan Smith, okay? So Monica, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then at some point, tell us one of your favorite movies.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Monica. I am actually a nurse, and I just graduated from Liberty University. And I just started 3 weeks ago, so it's getting there and just kind of like jumping back into the thing of things. I decided to move back down to Vero instead of going to Charleston, which is originally where I was applying and going to get a job at and move. And then my favorite movie, you can't cancel me for this, is White Chicks.
Okay, no cancellation. We'll just give you a bummer. No, I'm just playing. I've actually never seen it. Is there like a new version of it, or is it just your OG? Oh, it's Mean Girls. Never mind, I'm thinking Mean Girls. I'm getting those mixed up. Yeah, okay, cool. So shout out to the Liberty Flames over in Lynchburg, Virginia. Shout out to all the nurses out there. If you are a nurse, give us a whoop whoop, give us a holler. And awesome, very cool. Moving over to Hannah, who has been on Thrive and Dive. Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What's your favorite movie?
Yeah, so I'm a teacher at Masters Academy. I teach one of the 5th grade classes, and this is my 2nd year doing it, and I really enjoy it. Outside of work, I like to read, I like to listen to music, and my favorite movie, I feel like usually my top movies are Christmas movies, so probably like one of the Home Alones. I also really like The Grinch, but
okay.
I watch Christmas movies year round. So.
Let's go. And as I learned over in July, you are a Christmas junkie when it comes to celebrating early. Have you already started listening to Christmas music?
Okay, so there were a couple things I went to in July that were like Christmas in July events, so I have listened to Christmas music.
Just because of the event, or off and on?
That like triggered it. And
that triggered. You're like, I'm hooked now. Yeah. I'm going in deep now. Okay, there you have it. And then Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then your favorite movie, or one of your favorite.
So I work here in town in Vero for Illuma Tower with a productions manager, assisting creating the jobs on the team. Favorite movie? This one is not what I would say is scored as a great movie, but it's got a special place in my heart. Is The Miracle.
The Miracle.
1984 Winter Olympics with with the USA hockey team. Like, it's special to me.
Ooh, if you don't mind, I'm going to dig in a little deeper. Just because, like I said, Jordan is a movie guru. What makes it so special? What was it about it? Was it the season of life you're in, or the moment, or what?
I'm a huge fan of hockey, and it's the time of it's kind of the true story of the USA hockey team, but it's not, your top tier NHL players playing against Russia during the Cold War. This is actually a group of college age kids that get picked up all around Minnesota and Boston and all that stuff. And then they just like create the team that beat Russia for the first time in like a decade or something like that. And it's just, and unbelievable miracle on ice that happened that no one expected, you know.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, because I was actually having this conversation, maybe it was with David. Also, a fun fact, Jordan and I live together. He is my landlord
Roomies.
or roommate. Depends.
Roomies.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm proud to say I'm Jordan's roommate, Jordan's like, know your place. You're my tenant.
Depends on my mood that day.
Depends on the mood, yes. But we were actually roommates in a previous home as well. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, the reason I asked, or I had a conversation, I feel like it was with David, our other roommate, that what makes a movie so good? Is it, just the quality of the cinematography? Is it like, the ratings? Or is it contingent on the season of life you're in as you're watching the movie, right? Were you in a grid season? Was it you in a high place? Was it at the end of a great Friday and you just capped it off with a great movie? And I feel that for me, a lot of times the good movies in my life are because of the experience I had in the moment or what built up to it. So for me, my all-time favorite movie, I've said multiple times to people, is the movie Tangled. And it is a good quality movie, great plot, great storyline. It's kind of, your classic Disney movie. But for me, I remember watching it. I'm going a little deeper here, right? I remember watching it with my older brother. I think I was a junior in high school. And I just remember, man, like we bonded as brothers over this movie. I think we both cried, which we never really cried during movies. And it was like, oh, Disney magic. If Disney magic exists, I feel like it existed in that moment. Yeah, so Tangled. There you go. Anyway, our topic of conversation today is not about movie analysis, but hopefully with that, you've got now a picture of our guests today. Obviously, there's more to them than just their favorite movie, but super thrilled, super thankful they're on, because here on Thrive and Dive, I try to get people on that I believe are thriving in life, not just surviving, but are thriving. And I believe you three fit that category. So with that being said, we had an awesome experience this summer. And I'm going to set the stage for our topic of conversation, Thrive and Divers, as we switch gears. Monica, Hannah, Jordan, and I led a young adult Bible study over the summer, an 8-week-long Bible study through the book of Philippians. And we were just commenting the other day about, man, how much the Lord worked on this Bible study. I thought it was a huge success. I felt that the Spirit of God was upon us, blessing it. And I felt like there was great community building in the young adults here in Indian River County. So I wanted to talk with them about, man, why did we do that, right? Because not everybody just wakes up one day and is like, oh, let me start a young adult Bible study, because it's a lot of work and it doesn't just happen out of thin air. So I wanted to hear, why did you guys, because we kind of composited the leadership team of this young adult Bible study. We wanted to be like, we're not like, oh, the president or anything, but someone's got to take charge, right? But we want everyone to be involved. But we were the point people for this that did behind the scenes work. So my question for you guys, why did you get involved with this? What was the heartbeat behind it? And then we'll talk about the benefits of it, and then even just talk about the young adult demographic holistically. So talk to me about why you engaged in this Bible study.
I guess I can start because I kind of headed it all up. So the last 2 years during the summer, I would come back from college. So I went to Liberty University, and coming from a concentrated young adult population, that was just so Holy Spirit filled. Coming back to Vero then during the summers, I was like, where's all my friends? Who do I hang out with? Just the normal. So the last 2 summers before this summer, I had a young adult Bible study at my house. And that was at first through my church. And then the next summer was just me and my brother leading it. And then the summer after that, which was this summer, I was kind of praying about it. And after God completely shutting the door of me moving somewhere else and moving back home, I was kind of like, okay, Lord, why is your purpose of calling me back to Vero? And a huge part of it is young adult ministry, because I feel like that's what God is calling to me into my life. And that's why I'm back in Vero, is for young adults and to pour into them and to really encourage them in their faith. So that's kind of where it started. And I was like, there's a bigger population than just at my church. There's only 10, 12, 15 people on a good day, and so I was like, there's more people, and how do I get those people? So going into the summer, I was like, I really want to do a young adult Bible study. And that was the first thing. But then I'm like, I need help. I can't just do this on my own. And that's kind of where I asked Jordan and Hannah and James and a couple others along the way. Some said no, some just couldn't because of other commitments. But really getting a core group of people to come alongside me in this was just how the Lord was so faithful through that, and then just grew it from there. So, yeah.
Awesome. And we are selfishly so glad you didn't go to South Carolina, because then we wouldn't have this Bible study. Yeah. Hannah and Jordan, why did you guys get involved?
So prior to knowing even that Monica had come back to Vero, I'd only met her one time previously, a couple summers before that. I had been in talks with James, though, of the last year or so, I've been really blessed with just having a home that I now have and more time now that I've changed jobs to provide something for the community or for the young adults. So I prayed a lot and just got a calling from God that I just really needed to use the resources that He blessed me with to do something with the group of friends that I have and just to outreach to other groups of young adults that I'm not in connection with. And so from that time, I'm just odd text from James and Monica saying like, hey, we heard you're interested. You know, we really love to get you involved in this. And I felt like this was just a blessing from God again of just saying like, you know, you've been wanting this and this is your opportunity to commit to this and really do something for the summer and just see where it takes us. So that started me off. And I've had recently just a desire to put my extra time into doing something beneficial for the Lord, giving Him glory for everything. And I've been really focused on organizing my free time towards doing that type of a service. It's always something in my heart is to serve others. And so I felt like using my house was like my best way of how to do it. You know, not everybody can just provide a location for somebody for 20, 30 people to show up. And I just felt like that was what I can do. I don't have as much of the biblical background and studying and knowledge, and I don't have the practice in me to preach or just share the gospel, which I'm thankful with you guys around me. I'm really getting more involved in that, but the resources was what I could provide to begin with. And that was like my starting point.
I love it. And just so you guys know the full context, it's interesting even us talking about it right now. In a lot of ways, Jordan, I feel like you were tilling the soil for the young adult community. And it's just a reflection of the body of Christ, right? We're all gifted in different ways, different spiritual gifts, different skill sets. And so when Monica came and she brought something that it's not like there was no young adult community happening before Monica came. As great as you are, Monica. Like there was definitely a community, and I've witnessed your leadership in that, Jordan, and your hospitality, right? Offering a location, a space. Honestly, I feel like Jordan's house is becoming a staple in the young adult community here in Vero Beach. Like, have you been to Jordan's house? I feel like every young adult in your county has at least been to your house one time, or our house, but your house specifically. And so super cool to see that. So thanks for sharing your heart behind that. And Hannah, what about you? Why did you get involved in this?
Yeah, so I originally moved back to Vero, not this past summer, but the one before. And when I came back, I feel like summer can tend to be like a slower season for just like young adult community. And so when I moved back, Monica had reached out again. This was 2 summers ago, just about a group that she was starting at her house. And it was just kind of the perfect opportunity to get plugged in and just start getting involved in the young adult community back here in Vero. I had come from just a really great group of friends and just godly community in the town I was for college. And so I knew that it would be a difficult transition, but I just really appreciated like Monica's heart behind the group when she started it. And so when she had reached out about it this past summer, I knew that that's something that I wanted to be a part of and just help with, just so that other young adults could find community, whether it's fellow believers who are looking for just encouragement in the faith and like that deeper study into God's word, or if it's somebody who might be newer to the faith or just still kind of curious and figuring things out, but just being able to have access to an environment where they can hear more about it. So
That's awesome. And thank you for your sacrifice, Hannah. Thank you for all three of you taking the time. Like I said at the beginning, this doesn't just happen. It takes leadership. It takes intentionality. So thank you for doing that. And with that being said, we'll mention this at the end of the podcast as well. But the day this comes out, we're actually starting this summer Bible study back up again on Saturday evenings, right? Is that right, Monica? Is that right, Jordan? Right, Hannah? And we are thrilled to do it. We took a little hiatus, a little break, and now we've decided that we're doing it again. And so Saturday, tomorrow,
September 14th.
September 14th, yes. I'm not going to give the address online, but message us in the comments if you want to come to the location, because it's just at Jordan's house. Everyone pretty much knows where that is, though. But yes, that is happening. And I know for me, guys, I'm super thankful again for all your guys' leadership, but just another opportunity to invest in that demographic, because I'm finding out more and more that I feel like the Lord is may not called me permanently to work with this demographic, but at least for this season, such a passion of mine. So when Monica reached out about it, And it's funny because out of the four of us, I actually get, paid to work with young adults because I work at a church. I'm like, man, I feel like I can't say no to this opportunity, right? Like, oh man, look at these people doing it out of the goodness of their heart, volunteering, if anything, losing money in order to make this thing happen. I'm like, I'll jump in as well.
I figured the guilt of seeing a Bible study as your home would probably be enough for you.
Yeah, right.
It'd be hard to walk into your bedroom while there's about 20 people in the living room sharing the Bible, and you just go by and you're like, sorry, I got to go home. Gotta leave.
We talk about like, missed opportunities. Like, what a missed opportunity, like a young adults pastor not engaging in the Bible study at his own house. But anyway, I know I wanted to do it, all jokes aside. So I'm thankful to be able to partner with you guys in this way. Which leads me to the next topic in our conversation here today, still underneath the broader topic of young adults. That's our topic of conversations, if you didn't catch that, Thrive and Divers. But I want to talk about, it appears because everybody joined in on this Bible study, right, to one degree or another have a heart for young adults, as we just shared. And I want to talk about that demographic specifically. And there's many, I guess, ways of labeling the young adult categorization. It's 18 to 28, 18 to 30, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I think some people like making the number so big so they still feel like they're a young adult. Eventually you got to leave the young adult and just become an adult. So I want to reference a book as we kind of prime this next section of our conversation. Real quick shout out to the book called Beyond Biblical Integration by Dr. Roger Erdvig. It's a book designed for those who are teaching at biblical worldview schools, but the principles in the book can definitely overlap to anyone who just wants to develop a biblical worldview. And long story short, one of the main reasons we do Bible studies is so that we collectively can develop our biblical worldview, develop our knowledge of the scriptures, develop our relationship with the Lord in community for the glory of the Lord. And he, in this book, talked extensively about the young adult demographic, and he defined the young adult demographic as 18 to 23. So if you're 24 and you're like, whoa, I'm a young adult, so okay, all right, that's fine. But 18 to 23, he says specifically, is where young adults start taking ownership over their belief system. They're choosing for themselves what they're going to believe. Are they going to believe what their parents raised them as, or are they going to, offshoot into something different? So those are very formative years. And I remember for me, the 18 to 23 years, I felt like went by like that. It was super quick, right? And so much of my worldview was developed so fast in that season. I don't know if you guys can relate to that as well. I know you're still in the thick of it, Monica, and I don't want to give away your age, but Hannah, are you still in the 18 to 23?
Just barely.
Just barely.
Just barely.
And me and Jordan are miles away from that.
We're long gone.
Yeah, limp in the past, right? But yeah, 18 to 23. So I want to talk about that 18 to 23. It can get extended to 24, 25, whatever. We're not going to be legalistic about it. But that 18 to 23 year period, that demographic, I want to just hear your guys' opinion. I'm going to just give you some rapid fire questions. And as you guys answer this, maybe some more topics will come into it. But as we seek to develop and grow this young adult Bible study, what do you think that demographic is longing for? What are they looking for? And why would they want to come to something like a Bible study? So we'll start there and then move forward with some more questions.
I can look back at my own anecdotally of my own young adult life, and something I think I was looking for was consistency would be one thing of a consistent place to bring myself to fellowship with other believers or just to spend more time with God. I think my own personal example was, like you're saying, in the 18 to 23 range where your worldview really takes a firmer just product in your life. That's where it was honestly my worst time. And so looking back now on it, I wish I had found just 1 to 2 things in my life, whether it be a Bible study or young adults or a better community that kept me towards God. I think that was the time that I veered my farthest from God. And so it's easy to veer during those times because you're so heavily influenced by the things around you. And if you really don't find a community to keep you going, it's hard to stay focused on the Lord at that point.
Yeah, I would say like being in that age range.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Monica.
Call me out. But yeah.
That's all as a compliment.
I guess
I wish.
Yeah. We should get back there.
I'm not younger than 18. I know I look at a lot of people ask me it a lot, so I'm not. I promise I'm adult.
So she's a credible voice is what she's saying.
Yes. But personally, like for myself, like being in the age range and seeing other people in that age range too, like my friends, like I would say like overall, like the general like umbrella is like community is like what everyone's seeking. But more past that, like if you go dive deeper into that, it's like finding like community that you like want to continue to build. Like it's not like, say like I go to a young adult at a church and I, not being a stereotype, but like there's stereotypical like homeschool kids and you're like, I don't fit in. I don't really want to keep on attending. It's like knowing that there's other people out there that are just like you that are still pursuing the Lord. Like doesn't mean you have to fit in this box of this like, you know, like I was forced to go to like church my whole life, but like, you know, like I'm a nurse and like, yeah, my coworkers, like that's still my mission field. Like, even though like they may be ages beyond me, but also having that community that's like, hey, like you're 18 to 23, whatever you want to call it, 18 to 30. Like we're all doing life together, but like we can still like point each other back to Christ. And I think that community is like so important to like build while you're still like finding out who you are, because you're very impressionable at that age. And like if you find your community in the wrong place, then you're gonna like, that's why you see a lot of kids drift off the like straight and narrow path when they go to college, because they find the community in the wrong way, and a lot of peer pressure and just wanting to fit in. So yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, I feel like my answer is pretty broad, but just in general, it can apply to anybody. But I feel like fulfillment for young adults, especially if you like come out of a season of maybe doing more school or whatever it may be, and then like we just kind of enter this phase of having to really figure everything out. And so there's like a balance that a lot of young adults have to figure out of kind of like figuring out their own desires and what they want to fulfill themselves, and then also like the expectations of people around them. But I feel like fulfillment, just whether it's like career or just kind of future dreams, whatever it may be. But, and so I feel like with that, like a lot of people, if they like don't have Christ, then it's very easy to settle for a lot of temporary things. And it may not seem like a very fulfilling life for some people, but I think a lot of times they're just kind of scrambling just to figure out something to, I don't know, just last for the time being. But
yeah, absolutely. And all three things that you guys mentioned really just lay the groundwork for the next direction I want to go with this conversation. So going back to Dr. Erdvik's book, when it comes to mental development, spiritual development, physical development, we're just talking holistic development with the hopes of developing our biblical worldview. He talks about how it doesn't happen like in a linear fashion. Like, oh, when I'm 18, I learned this. When I'm 20, I learned this. When I'm 24, I learned this. When I'm 25, praise God, my prefrontal cortex is developed as a male, apparently. It takes longer for us dudes to develop that part of the brain. Now I'm set. Now I'm mature. It doesn't really work like that. It's a series of going back to something you learned when you're 18, and as you get further along, and it just goes forward and backward, forward and backward. And he illustrates it. I wish I had the image for you guys. But how instead of a linear fashion, the way we develop is through gears. And he explains three little gears that kind of make up the big gear of what we believe in our convictions, our worldview. He talks about past influences or past experiences, how you were raised, what school you went to, what type of crowd you hung out with when you were in high school, things like that. It talks about new experiences, the current experiences that you're experiencing, right? We don't interpret everything through our past, at least I hope not, right? We mature and develop new experiences. Maybe you had a bad encounter with a friend and you're like, I'm never going to be friends with anybody again. Well, that's interpreting things through your past experience. Get a new experience. Get a new friend that actually is an actual friend, and you realize, oh, friends are great. I don't need to be isolated all my life, right? And then it talks about processing. So old experiences, past experiences, new experiences, and then processing. All these three gears are happening simultaneously. And the processing gear is probably the most important one that I feel like is often neglected by the young adult community. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but it just happens. And processing is looking at your past experiences, looking at your current experiences, and doing that interpretation and taking the time to slow down and see, okay, how is this affecting me? And how am I going to learn from this moving forward? We're so go, especially young adults. Not the stereotype of short attention spans, myself included. I'm on the older category. I still have a low attention span. I can't imagine those younger than me, the Gen Zers and the Alphas. And because our attention span is so short and we're constantly filling our mind with whether it's technology or whatever, we don't sit down and just process. And when I say process, I'm not talking about like deep meditation, but meditation is part of it. But just spending time reflecting on your thoughts. For us as Christians, prayer is so important. Prayer is a form of processing. And actually a big form of processing is community, right? Talking like this. We're processing stuff. So when you're with people and you're bouncing ideas. I know me, Jordan, David, just sometimes late at night, we just start talking, we're processing stuff, right? Because you need to let that stuff out. A lot of us are verbal processors. And as you do that system of new experiences, past experience, processing, you start to mature and develop and learn essential skills for biblical worldview development, just life skills and people skills for that matter. So my question for you guys is, what do you think? I kind of already shared some reasons why I think young adults are not good at processing either their past or their current experiences. Is there anything you would add to why we don't process like we should?
I feel like it's not an all the time thing, but sometimes people may be hesitant to process just because of the action that might be required after. So if it's maybe something that they need to process that involves another person and would entail having to have some type of conflict, hopefully like a healthy handling of it. But if it means having to address something afterwards, then I think that can definitely kind of put people off.
Sure, if I process it and I find the solution I need, but it requires me to, one, do something because I'm lazy, or two, have a confrontation with somebody, heck no, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Thinking about the processing, something that came to mind similar to you is the solution isn't what you wanted. I also look at it in a way of, for a lot of young adults, the community ideas you process, like how do I build a community? And it's kind of a thing of, sometimes when you process, you're looking for something that I don't think you can find in that time, in that season, maybe. And it's you won't even take what's close because you're looking for what's perfect for you, for your community. I think for myself and for other young adults during that age is you know what you want, but you're not really finding it, and you sometimes have to understand that maybe you won't find it right now, but you can't also do nothing. I think for myself is I look back and think there's so many young adult communities or so many, church-led young adult groups that I could have joined during the time, but I went to it once, didn't feel like it was good enough for me, and so I just didn't do it at all. So I think when you go through your processing, you got to understand, it's going to take time to maybe reach the solution that you want if you have it in mind, or also you have to create it yourself. I mean, I think for myself, I look at young adults groups they're not completely controlled by the leadership team. It requires the people that go to it to make it what it is also. So if you go to a young adults community event type thing and you just, you go there once, it wasn't exactly what you wanted, but if you don't go again, well, then that community doesn't get built the way you were hoping it to. You kind of have to put your time and investment into it in order to create what you're really looking for, because others are probably looking for that too, and they will join you during your journey, but maybe you're the first one there.
That's good. Two things I want to comment on real quick before, Monica, you share your thing. I love, I'm going to paraphrase it. I've heard it said, sometimes life is not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? We're so focused, this is what the ideal destination I want to be. But a lot of learning in life happens in the journey. Actually, a lot of life happens in the journey. Right? Life is just a big journey, honestly, until it happens our destination, right? We never arrive, right? So there's that piece of it, having that perspective. Like, I'm not where I want to be. Maybe, the constant young adult conversation is romance, right? It's like, I'm not in the romance I want to be. Well, that's not all there is to life, right? So just understanding that the journey, honestly, this could be on a whole nother side conversation. There's a book about stewarding your singleness, your season of singleness. And unfortunately, a lot of people squander those years because they're so worried about the destination. And but in other things as well, I don't have the job I want. I'm not making the amount I want to make. And you're kind of neglecting the journey process. And the second thing you said that I really think is key, Jordan, is that the young adult demographic. And we're speaking with you guys, right? I'm not saying I've got this mastered over here.
Absolutely.
even the romance conversation, right? Alone. Me and Jordan have had plenty of conversation about this, right?
Easy now.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get into our business, but anyway, but the resiliency is what we need to develop as young adults, right? Being resilient. Like you said in that Bible study. It wasn't how I wanted it to be. Didn't make me feel great. You got an option. You can sit there and complain about it, or you can do something about it, or stick it out a few more weeks, right? We're so feelings driven that we don't have the resiliency to push back to our own feelings sometimes and realize, wait, maybe my feelings just need to be adjusted. But developing tenacity and resiliency is definitely a good life skill that all of us can have as young adults or as we're past the young adult demographic age. But Monica, what do you think gets in the way of good, healthy processing as young adults?
Well, scientifically, because I'm a nurse, like James even mentioned, your prefrontal cortex is not developed especially for males, like it's just not until you're like 24, 25, like that age range. But that's like, put that aside, like, yes, that's scientific, but like as a whole, like young adults are in an instantaneous society where like they are, okay, like let me just go to college and like get this job. Okay, now I'm in this job. Now I'm going to do this. Like now I'm going to get all the money and then I'm going to like buy a house. I'm going to get married and I'm going to have kids. Like it's like one thing to the next. And if one thing doesn't work out, like say you graduate college or even you don't get into the college you don't want to, like you don't want, you like just jump to the next thing. You don't even take the time to reflect on that. And I think it's kind of like, it stems from, in my opinion, like not being taught how to do that because like we're brought up in your parents' household from 0 to 18 and then you become an adult and it's like, okay, like you're kind of like on your own, you're going to figure this out. And like, I think college is great for people to like kind of figure out their lives and like figure out like who they are as long as you have good like people around you to build each other up. But the processing doesn't take place because it's like, you're just like, okay, if this isn't working out, what's the next step to get to your end goal? Because it's like everyone has a goal in mind, whatever that is. But then it goes back to, sorry, not to ramble, but I just to think about this when James, you were talking.
You're cooking. Keep going.
But like it goes to your spiritual walk with the Lord. Like if you're truly not like set your eyes on Jesus and realize like, hey, tomorrow I might not have. So how can I live out just today to like fully be fixated on him and like everything I do? I think like a lot of Christians coming from like a like youth group, like senior year you graduate and then you are on your own for church. It's like, okay, I have to figure out where my relationship lies. And if your relationship in God is not rooted in like, okay, my goal is heaven. And yes, my life is a journey, but like tomorrow is not promised. So it's like, how am I stewarding what God has given me to process this through him, like the Holy Spirit, and how it's like reading his word and like having the spiritual disciplines he gives us. I truly think like that's like part of the reason like we're just not processing as a culture of young adults.
That's good. Monica, this leads me to the next part, so this works out beautifully. You talked about how sometimes we're not raised to learn how to process correctly, right? I want to give you guys, you Thriving Divers, and us here as well, an opportunity to take some next steps, right? So hopefully you realize by now that processing is important. If you don't think it's important at this point, well, what have you been listening to, right? But here's some things that Dr. Ervik says that you can do to improve your processing. He says, have conversations with peers, aka have conversations with your friends. So like this, right? This can happen anywhere, anytime. I encourage you, even if you're not a big social person, I get that. I'm introverted by nature, but you can still talk with people. You need to talk with people. If you don't talk with people, you're going to stunt your processing growth. Second thing, and you guys can comment on this after I get all five said. Second thing is reflection, right? In biblical terms, we call meditation, really just sitting in the presence of the Lord, practicing the presence of God. That's an important discipline. Reflecting on your past experiences. If you journal, that's a form of reflection. If you, for me, I do voice memos because my wrist gets sore really easily, and I'm a wimp. It's easier. I can just quickly talk it into my phone. That's a way of reflecting. You do you. Anyway, the next one is study. Proper Bible study is so important. I'm a Bible nerd by nature. I get that. But everyone can be in their Bible. Everyone should be in their Bible if they want to practice good processing, because look at, a lot of things we need in life are in the Bible. How about that, right? So if you want to learn how to process things biblically, got to be in the Bible. Next one, this one I feel like we talk about a lot, but I feel like it's so underplayed and underrated in the young adult demographic, and that is being mentored. Having someone who's older than you pouring into your life. And I don't know what it is. By nature, guys, I just always loved having a mentor above me. I don't know what it was like for you guys, but maybe we can park the bus right there. What do you think gets young adults in the way of not seeking a mentorship relationship? What do you think is that? I feel like, it's so important, but not everyone's getting mentored.
To be very honest, I think it's a lack of people that are older than us making themselves available. And I feel like that's where a lot of like my friends have been like, I just don't know who to reach out to because no one's making themselves available. But like at the same time, I think like there's certain people that are just like, no, that's just for like if you have like, I don't know, daddy issues or something like past trauma. And it's like, I need help. I need a mentor. But it's like, it truly is so beneficial. Yeah.
So shout out, I guess, you're poking fingers at those who are older that are watching and you're refusing to be in a mentor relationship because you're too busy. Honestly, It's probably the best investment you can make. If someone asks you, can you mentor me? Like, I see that personally as an honor, and I hardly say no. Not that people are asking me all the time, but like, I'll make time in my schedule. If eventually comes a point where I can't do it, then we'll figure that out when we get there. But yeah, what do you guys think? Why aren't young adults seeking out mentorship?
I think kind of Monica touched on this earlier. Young adults can be so focused on getting their career and their life going in a non-spiritual way that they lose sight of the opportunity of what a mentor, a spiritual mentor, or just a mentor in general of an older person that could help them. I know for myself, it was, I had a mentor once I reached about 21, but I didn't realize he was my spiritual mentor until I already committed to working for him and moving my life up to Pennsylvania and all these other. It's like, looking back, I realized how he completely took me under his wing, helped me to get back onto my feet. And so sometimes I think we don't realize who our mentors are around us. But also I think sometimes we're just too focused on the aspirations of our career and things like that to see the benefit of a spiritual mentor. Because I think a spiritual mentor will still provide that guidance and that assistance towards your career. But for myself, you're kind of skipping over that and just going one-to-one of like, this guy gets me to my career.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I really need. I'll get back to my spiritual growth as soon as I feel comfortable with that.
That's good. So career can get in the way. And then I like how you said, I mean, many of us probably do have a mentor. You just never had a language for it, or you're not using it to its fullest potential, right? I'm not saying you gotta, do like a proposal and be like, "Can you be my Jedi master, please?" I'm not saying you do you, bro. But like, maybe you have someone. Oh yeah, I'd consider if someone were to ask me who's pouring into me, I would say so and so. Now press into that. Make sure that they know how much you mean. Make sure they know how much they mean to you, right? So I think a lot of people don't realize, oh, I didn't realize you like meant so much to me, right? One, it's gonna bless them, but two, it's gonna maybe open up a door of opportunity for further mentorship. But anyway, Hannah, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I would agree with Jordan. I feel like it's very easy. Like I said, if you're getting out of school or just like moving into the young adult phase, when you're kind of in like a survival mode of just trying to get your life kind of ordered and figured out, and so it can be very easy just to kind of focus on yourself instead of actually seeking out help or listening if somebody is offering by chance. But I think it is something that's like so important and that I've had a really great experience with, and know that like when I got out of school and my campus ministry, obviously I wasn't in school anymore, so I wasn't a part of that, but they had a continued ministry for young adults, and that's how I found my mentor, and it was probably the biggest blessing in that season for me.
That's awesome. So get a mentor if you don't have one. Really, it's going to help you cultivate your processing, your life skills, and who knows, maybe even get you some career benefits. Not that we seek our mentor out just because, but a lot of times actually, I mean, the mentor could be in alignment with a field that you're pursuing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. All right, and the fifth thing he said to be a good processor is practice serving others. And I think one of the best ways, at least for me when I was a young person, that this manifested was just serving at my local church. Doesn't have to be your local church. It could be a parachurch ministry or some other form of service. But I know for me, when I was a teacher, fresh out of college, I was plugged into the youth ministry at my church. And honestly, it wasn't just me pouring out. I felt like I got so filled from it, so much so that I decided to join the staff of the church, I guess. But anyway, processing, doing something with your hands, being a blessing to other people can, one, just give you an overall better positive outlook on life, but two, is a good way to process things through experience. But anyway, so from the top, the 5 things were have conversation with peers, practice reflection, practice studying the Bible, be mentored, and serve others. Any quick comments on those 5 things? I know we've talked extensively already about the mentorship piece. And if not, I have one last thing to share with you guys.
I think for myself, the last one you mentioned, the practicing of service, is something that's, I guess I would value it as underrated. For myself, it's kind of funny when you talked about the prefrontal cortex. Me doing at least half of those processing talking points you brought up, probably didn't start for me until into my mid to late 20s. And now I think about it and go, the idea of service was so beneficial to me to put the onus or put the focus not on myself but in others. It's kind of counterintuitive to think that you can process better when you're no longer thinking for yourself as an individual, but you're thinking about how can I help others. Doesn't feel like you're going to improve yourself by serving others, but it truly is something, just the giving or the giving of the service to others really, as Jesus says, I mean, he'll return it, tenfold to you.
Yeah. It's kind of an unspoken way of processing. It's not just verbal, just the act of serving. Just, I don't know, it just does something to you. There's probably some sort of like scientific, like it's releasing oxytocin or something.
I was gonna say, it's not even it's not a like scientific thing, but just a spiritual thing of like, when I'm serving people, I'm thinking of them more than myself, which is like the true act of humility in Jesus. And like, I think it really like puts it in perspective of like, I'm supposed to be Jesus's hands and feet here on earth. And like, it puts like, even if you're forced into it, like, hey, I'm serving today, like again, but like, it really does. Like, it makes you like, okay, I have to like value these people more than my like 1 hour that I'm serving,
That's good. All right. Switching gears to our final component of this conversation. Again, about using Erdvig's material, he talks about some of the derailers that stop us from processing. And we've already kind of talked extensively about things, again, the way of processing, but I just want to go over his quick list, and then you guys can offer some final thoughts, and we'll finish off this podcast. But he categorizes them in 4 different things that can get in the way of our spiritual development and processing. 1 are distractions, and that's kind of an umbrella term. So many examples of distractions, but his biggest one is technology and things of that nature, social media. Second thing he says, in the way of processing, is stress, right? We're not talking about healthy stress that gets you out of bed because you need that in order to be motivated. We're talking about like, what's the word? Chronic stress. Dare I say the word anxiety? I know it's a buzzword. The third thing that gets in the way of healthy processing is apathy. And this one, oh man, looking back at my 18 to 23 years, and even now, this was my thorn in the flesh, baby. I can be a lazy person, right? If I'm not motivated properly. But that general sense of apathy. And then the last one, and this is probably some of the biggest stumbling blocks for people in general, but for young adults specifically, is trials. Why are bad things happening to me? And that can really shipwreck your faith if you don't have a proper, healthy theological view of what a trial is and why they happen. But any closing thoughts on those? I know these could all be topics of themselves that we could spend probably hours on. But I already forget what the first one was. Distractions, stress, apathy, or trials. Any personal things you want to share about those 4 things that get in the way of processing?
The apathy you brought up and exactly your explanation on it kind of is exactly where I felt too for all my young adult years was I really didn't have I didn't notice, or I didn't want to acknowledge the desire I had in my heart to do these things. I kind of just put that away and set it aside and just didn't feel like it was important enough for me. And I think a lot of them can all overlap. I mean, distractions certainly can take hold of like all of those things almost in my life as well, whether it be technology or distractions, meaning just I find other things to be more time valuable to me, but it could just be something of playing a sport, playing a game, just doing mindless things. I mean, for me, movies, I guess, it's a ton of them.
Can be a distraction.
Can be very much
tool.
A distraction. So I think it's just really important to like the processing is part of this. Kind of like self-reflect and realize which one of these 4 or all of them or just one is really, really taking hold of your life and causing you to like slow down your processing or almost halt it entirely.
So yeah, with those 4, it just made me think about, because like those can be controllers of your life of like, I forget the first one, but the rest are like stress and apathy and distractions and trials. But it goes back to like, not to be very like, throw the Jesus juke and everything that I say, but it really does. Like, it truly does go back to like, these are all areas of your life that you take control. And I think for a lot of young adults, it's realizing that you're not in control. And that, like, yes, a trial comes, but no, the Lord is still in control. Yes, I'm distracted and stuff, but, like, taking it back to the Lord and being like, hey, God, I'm really, like, distracted. I don't know what to do. Because instead of being like, I recognize I'm distracted with these, like, movies or whatever your distraction is, it's like, and then, like, moving to the next thing of, like, oh, you know what? Instead, I'm just going to read. And then your reading turns into an obsession where it's another distraction. It's like, no, Lord, this is my distraction. It's movies. Like, okay, take that away from me, like reveal to me where I need to work on. And like with all 4 of those, I think it really goes back to like young adults needing to realize like that you're not in control and you shouldn't take control of these things, and really just like surrendering your life back to that and like becoming like truly a vessel that he wants to use.
Yeah, I think on that list, I'm not surprised that trials is listed on there as a reason why a lot of people might avoid processing. But I would just encourage anyone listening, like that last topic of trials, that's definitely an area just to try to fight in as far as seeking to process trials that you may be going through. Just because even from personal experience and just from close friendships around me, listening to people who have taken the time and just spent time with the Lord processing trials that they were going through. Again, for myself, that first year out of college was a challenging one for me, and I did experience trials through that. But if you do take the time to process, I think it's one of the most rewarding things that does set you up later in life for many things ahead, just because you do get to experience a sweet closeness with the Lord and just receive wisdom and strength that is something so vital for the rest of your life. So I would say out of all those, all of them are easily just things that can lead you astray from processing, but especially trials, just because the Bible does encourage us to rejoice in our suffering. So in order to rejoice, I think you just need to take the time to really think about maybe the things that you're experiencing that are difficult and just hand them over to the Lord.
Excellent stuff, guys. And with that, final mic drop. Bloop. Thank you, Hannah. Hopefully young adults or anyone listening, but specifically young adults, you learn some things. We're not here trying to dog on you and be like, oh man, these young adults, right? We're pretty much in that categorization as well. But hopefully you took some things from this conversation or now you can apply to your life. Become a good processor. Process your trials, your stress, your pain, have a mentor, be in study, so many things. I'm not going to list them all off here at the end, but please take something from this and apply it to your life. And with that being said, we already mentioned it. If you are a young adult in Indian River County, tomorrow we've got our young adult Bible study at 7 p.m. Location I'm not going to disclose here on the internet, but reach out to me if you have my number or comment in the chat or something or whatever you do you. But anyway, thank you guys so much, Jordan, Hannah, and Monica for being on Thrive and Dive. Well, folks, this is Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a great rest of your day.